Hey, what's up YouTube? Here with another video, and today here to talk about a game called MIGHTREYA. This is a new character action game, indie character action game being made by someone called Wazen. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but they made Assault Spy, which in my opinion for an indie game made by who I believe is a solo dev, I think that game does a really good job at capturing, the fun of a character action game like Devil May Cry. But it also, in my opinion, does a good job of keeping it accessible, right? Like you're not switching between 8 different weapons and 4 different styles. You're just holding different inputs and, through the use of pause, combos, and like other inputs, he's able to create a similar amount of nuance and depth of like a Devil May Cry game, but without the super complex mechanical skill that is usually required from a game like that. Which is why I enjoy that game a lot. Like sometimes, you want to play an action game, but you also don't want to think too much or try very hard. And I think this developer now with MIGHTREYA, I think he really strikes a good balance of like simple, easy to pick up, but still having plenty of depth and nuance for people that like to do shit like animation cancel and jump cancel and blah blah blah. So MIGHTREYA, I'm gonna talk about the game in a way where like I'm gonna assume that you've played an action game before, right? Like I don't want to go through the whole rigmarole of like, oh, like you press this button to punch and that button and that button to block. I just want to talk about the game, like what makes it fun, what makes it unique from different games of the genre. I'd say the first thing and the most obvious thing from the gameplay is the emphasis on movement, right? Your character is very mobile, like you're always in the air pretty much. And the style that they're going for is like sort of like My Hero superhero themed. And in that sense, if we're just talking about like, what you would come to these games for, which is the mechanics and the aesthetics, I think already in this playtest, like this is a really solid foundation, right? The animations and the effects on all the attacks, sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming and you can sort of lose track of what's going on, but I think the effects and animation are doing a great job of like conveying the action, right? And like how like fast paced it is and blah blah blah. It just looks cool pretty much, to like simplify it. And that's an important part of these games, that you kind of really like, you need them to look cool, but it's an aspect to where like you don't really know if something looks cool until you're playing it, right? This game looks cool, it feels good to play. Part of the reason why I'm already like having a lot of fun with the combat is the use of contextual animations. One of my favorite games is Kingdom Hearts 2, and the way that game does its combat is you press one button to do every action, but through the use of contextual animations, you can get a lot more out of the combat, right? Depending on how far away you are from the enemy, or depending on if they're in the air or if you're in the air, on the ground, etc., etc. Sora's going to do a bunch of different combos even though you're only pressing one button. This game is taking the sort of contextual nature of things, but just adding it to like a traditional action game. So the way it works is when you do things like knock people back, you can follow up in a contextual sense with 3 different actions, right? Well, actually 4. So a range attack, a heavy attack, a light attack, and then you can just like teleport up to people after you knock them away. There's a difference between certain moves work differently depending on if you're already close to somebody or if they're at a distance, right? So the regular just like hitting a button or just like pressing the attack button, when they're far away, you do the dive kick towards them. But if you're close, right, you start punching them. So the game is using contextual actions to give the game more depth and give you more moves, which I think is something that not a lot of action games do, and I think this game is doing it really well. The contextual moves are also very intuitive, right? You kind of have to play the game to figure this out for yourself, but pretty much everything is made in a way to just sort of connect into everything without really having to try too hard. And you can also cancel animations with the dash that you use to dodge moves. So you can very easily and freely link all the different moves that you're using. So yeah, I would say the game is really fun to play. Even at this base level, we only have one weapon. They already confirmed that there's gonna be multiple. Let's just say there's gonna be three weapons in the game. Just with this one, it's already really fun and satisfying to start labbing all the different things you can do with all the moves. But the game isn't perfect, right? It is in a playtest, so I'm gonna not talk about obvious stuff like, oh, it's a little buggy and maybe some animation should be polished. I'm gonna try to keep it to mechanical things that I hope the devs focus on and fix. First of all, I think jumping is a little too stiff for how much the game focuses on aerial combat. Like when you press jump, you don't have a lot of horizontal momentum. It's very vertical. And I think it should be both, right? I think it should send you high up and it should send you forward, right? Like it should really feel like you're jumping like longer distances, right? Right now it feels like a Devil May Cry jump where it's like super stiff. Another thing is the attacks on some enemies. One specifically, there's this octopus kind of enemy where they have this really delayed move where what you're supposed to do is hit them with a heavy attack and it'll just knock them out of it because when you try to hit them, they have super armor during this animation. The problem is it's a really long wind up for you to have time to punish them, but if you don't have the resources to punish them, then what ends up happening is you're just sort of forced into this interaction where you have to just wait for this super long animation. And because the animation is so long, it's really hard to get the timing consistently. An easy way to fix this would just be that before the animation ends, like you have some sort of like red or orange flash to like indicate like, oh, like ping, like now this is when the swipe comes, or just animate the move better to have like a better tell. But it really is also that move tracks the character really well. So even though you're flying around the map, teleporting to people, knocking them back and shit, when they're in that animation, they're gonna they're probably gonna hit you with it, even if you are moving away from it really fast. And it doesn't really feel fun because you'll be hitting somebody, you'll notice that somebody's trying to hit you, and then you'll move really far away by knocking someone back, and then you'll still just get hit. And it doesn't really feel good. I feel like there are certain moves in your kit that should break the tracking on the enemies, right? Like especially when you teleport. Like I feel like if I vanish up to somebody, then the enemy shouldn't be able to immediately track me after that vanish, right? It feels a little weird. The soft lock on, I think it is pretty much the only way for a lock on system to work in a game like this. Like I'm a little DMC coded, so for the first 30 minutes I was like, oh, like why is there no lock on? But realistically, there's no point to pressing a button to have to lock on to a specific enemy or like waste time trying to switch between different ones. Better yet, the R3 button, in my opinion, should be used as the camera refocus button. I feel like this should be in the game already. Just a button that either refocuses the camera to be looking directly in front of you or it refocuses the camera to the nearest enemy, right? Like something like that. Right now, clicking R3 does absolutely nothing, which it shouldn't be like that. Just in general, it can kind of be a bit, you can get a bit lost in the sauce. Sometimes it's because a few of the moves move the camera around in like a really weird and wacky way, and it's kind of hard to keep up with what's happening. That'll probably get ironed out over time, but also I think what needs to happen is the enemies need an outline that shows up if they get obscured by anything, because you're knocking people into walls, they're crashing into walls, you have all these air wind effects on all your moves, explosions, you got currency flying into your body after you kill people. Something like some sort of outline to where like if they get obscured by like smoke or like an explosion or like whatever, you can still see like a black or like a reddish orangish outline so that you can kind of see what they're doing in the middle of all the chaos. The move set right now, it's mainly catered towards only group fights. I imagine like as they add more moves, they add more weapons, it'll feel better to fight bosses, but the boss fight that's in the game, it's not fun because the boss is like a particularly annoying fight or anything. It's a fun fight, but the problem is a lot of your kit is designed around knocking people away from you, you know, like knocking them up, forward, down, and then chasing them, and that doesn't really work on the boss unless they're stunned. And when they're stunned, right, you're just hitting an enemy that's not fighting back. So it just feels like right now the moveset isn't really catered towards the bosses. It's really catered towards the group fights. The last thing I want to talk about, this is the one that like I'm the most concerned, or I have the most questions about, is the takedown feature or like takedown mechanic that they have in the game. Pretty much whenever you are about to kill somebody, you can hit a button and then you do an animation, you do a takedown animation. My problem with it right now is I'm not seeing the value in it whatsoever, right? Because when you do the takedown, one, it displaces the camera because it puts you in this specific animation, and always being able to like know what's happening and like know like where everyone is, I think right now that's more valuable than like a cool animation, right? And then you do the takedown and you're not really getting anything out of it, right? Like I feel like with something like that, maybe if you do a takedown, you get more resources, like you get more of the gauge that you use to do your strong attack, or you get more of the gauge that you use to use your super moves, right? I mean, maybe that is happening, but right now it doesn't feel like it. It feels like the takedown is just this thing where it's like, well, you can get them low and you can do the takedown, but why? Like literally why? Like I feel like they disorient you enough to where it's almost more valuable to just not do them. You know, they also kind of slow down the pace of the game in a sense. I mean, maybe if they polish the animations and then add more and then, you know, add that value thing I was talking about to them, maybe they'll be better in the final product. But right now, I'm not really seeing a purpose to them at all. Like, it just really just seems like this thing where it's like, well, I mean, takedowns are cool. You know, there's takedowns in other action games, so let's add a takedown in this game. That seems kind of harsh, but that's just how I feel right now. So, I mean, besides that, I talked about the game. I don't want this to be a super long video. It's the playtest is 2 levels and 1 training room, right? Like I'm not gonna talk about the story or like the graphics or a bunch of shit because it is a work in progress. I just want to do a little PSA. The game is fun, and right now the playtest is pretty open. It is a thing that you have to request access to, so I don't know how long it's gonna be open. But for right now, I'm pretty sure you can just click request access. You'll immediately get access to the demo, and then you can just play the game. So if it looks fun to you, try the game, join the Discord, give the game feedback, the developer feedback, and yeah. So that's the video, and thank you for watching.